Welcome to Powerhouse Piano. My name is Ian Hodge, and today's lesson is on the introduction of scale playing for young students. Now, I don't normally give my young students scales to play, and there are two reasons for this. Number one, scales can be a little difficult to play. And secondly, scales are pretty boring. And students don't like to be bored, especially young students. Now, there's a way that we can have students playing scales without the boredom, and that is to pick pieces of music, little studies and sonatinas, that have scales inside of them. But having said that, the student still needs to learn how to practice scales, even just briefly, so that when they see a scale inside a piece, they don't come unstuck and can't navigate their way across the scale neatly and cleanly and very efficiently. So today's lesson, Introduction to Scales. And there you have the music for the scale of C major. This is one of the elementary scales or the most elementary scale that the young student's going to learn. You may want to hit the pause button for a moment, or else go to powerhousepiano.com and download the music for yourself so that you've got the printed music that you can work with. I don't normally use music when I teach scales. I just show the student what they need to do and then have them do it. First thing I'm going to have the student do is make sure that his finger articulation is working properly. Here you can see that my fingers are lifting up and falling back down on the keys. This lifting up action is very important. A lot of students tend to keep their fingertips on the top of the keys, but then when you do that, the only way you can get the key down is to push with your arm to depress the key. And we don't want that action. We want the fingers falling and the weight of the arm actually transferring from finger to finger. That's the real key to this kind of piano playing you see here. Now there's the movement we do not want from the student. See how my hand and arm turned in order to get the thumb underneath or the finger over the top? That's just bad movement. See that? That's bad. That's not a good way to play the piano, not scales. When we turn like that, we don't need to do that. We just need to let the thumb pass straight under the fingers and reach the note that it's going for. Or if the third finger's over the top, just pass straight across the top of the thumb. See the thumb go underneath there nicely? Here we go again. Up and over, lifted nice and high. In fact, I lifted very high when I turned over, and that is because I want to get right up in here so I can come down on the note rather than try and glide across the note if I don't lift my fingers very high, especially when I turn over the thumb. It's to do with mathematics and angles and trying to make the most secure way of coming down on the next note rather than having a tendency to slide across it. There's that bad movement again. See how my whole hand turns? I'll tell my students if they do that they'll end up being like a bird and start flying because their elbows are flapping. That's not the way to play the piano. That's not the way to play scales. Here's a little picture, or here's a diagram of the scales, and you can see the purple line is what is the result of not lifting the hand very high when we go over the thumb. And the higher we lift, as you can see in the red lines and the red arrows, you'll come down on the note that you're looking for. And you notice that the further I'm going to reach, like if I'm going to miss a note and reach for it, then I'm going to lift that hand up very, very as high as I can so it can come down on the note. We'll learn to do that kind of movement a bit later when we learn to do arpeggios, where we have to turn across, miss a note when we're doing the turn. Thumb straight under. Here's our right hand. Well, here's the right hand. That's my right hand. It's not your right hand. So you can see now that I've moved from just doing a little 5-finger exercise with the student to playing the scales. Hands separately, just slowly to make sure they know how to do the hand movement and in a moment we're going to pick up the tempo a little bit, the speed, and have them play scales, more quickly. And to do that, we need their brain so well trained to do this movement that it becomes second nature. Now here's the key. It doesn't take 3 weeks to get this down to second nature. It takes just a few minutes. In fact, in the space of a half-hour lesson, I'll usually have the student playing their scales quite easily and quite naturally and quite quickly up and down the piano. Now, what is true that they'll need to go home and practice that and reinforce it, because I can almost guarantee that tomorrow they will have forgotten. The brain needs a few days to reinforce things so that it gets used to it. Now we're picking up the tempo. The brain has to get used to this movement of moving across the thumb in the left hand when we're ascending, and under the third finger in the right hand when we're ascending, and the reverse movement when we come down in the right hand. Third finger has to turn up and over the thumb. That's not too hard. Little student can do that. 8-year-old. Now let's take a look at this from another angle again. Here we are back down in that low angle. You can see my fingers going up and down. See, they lift, fall, lift, fall, lift, fall. Notice I'm not trying to do anything here with the rhythm of the playing other than have a steady movement of one note after another in the same rhythmic frequency. But when I pick the tempo up, then I get an accent at the bottom note, at the bottom of the scale, and at the top of the scale on the key note. The scale is C major, so the key note is C. Loud, strong, strong. We want to get strong notes on the two key notes and everything a little bit softer in the middle. In fact, to be able to play faster, all we have to do is play the whole thing softer, and the student can usually then move their fingers a lot faster. And if you want to really push your student to really fast playing, the key is to get them playing softer in the fast passages, not louder. If they're louder, they're working too hard, they're tensed up, they're pushing, they're doing everything they can to force the volume out of the piano. And you don't want to do that for fast playing. You want to let your hand relax and just let the fingers do their work. Here we are again from the elevated position again. This is quite a challenge for young students, by the way, because the timing of the turns is different in the both hands. So as soon as we ask the student to play hands together, we should expect some little challenges. You may not be able to take hands together at such a fast pace so quickly. I take the initial pace at whatever I think the student's capable of. Once I've got them doing that, I want them to run up and down without stopping so that they get used to turning at the top, turning at the bottom, turning at the top, turning at the bottom, going up and down non-stop. And then what I'll do is they may do that 3, twice, 4, 5, who knows. Depends on the student, the age of the student. When I think they're getting bored with doing that, then I'll stop them, usually have a little mental break of some sort, or let me talk about something, maybe even tell a joke, and say, now let's do it again faster. And then I'll usually play it up in the upper register of the piano so they can hear me play the scale first. And then while I'm playing, I'll say, now join me. So if I'm playing it fast, they have to join me at my pace. Now we're doing the scale of G major. You can see my second finger hitting the F sharp there. So we're starting now on G, not on C. Fingering is exactly the same as the C major scale, just that we start on a different note. We're now starting to navigate the black notes in our scale playing. F major, which is the scale I'm going to play here now, is a bit different again because now we have a B flat in the middle of it, not an F sharp. And so in the left hand, there's no problem. The finger pattern is going to be the same in the F major scale as it was in C major and G major, but not so in the right hand. That B flat falls right in the middle of the scale, and so we have to turn our thumb under our fourth finger, not under our third finger.
And so when we reach the top of the scale, the top F, our fourth finger is the one that's going to have to play longer and stronger, and so we'll start to strengthen up the fourth finger, which is naturally our weakest finger. Here I am just running up and down the keys, the scales in different pattern. Now I'm picking up the tempo a little bit again. Again, you'll notice that I'm trying to play softer in the middle so I can run down. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 with all those notes in the middle. And here again from the low position, watching those fingers work. There's the G major scale with the F sharp occurring. Going back to C major again. I'm mixing it around, you see. I don't want to play the same thing, but I want to get the movement running up and down the keys so that the student can do it fast and not stop and think about, oh, I have to turn my thumb under or a finger over. That's why I make them head for those two end points. They now become thinking about long, top, 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 long, top, 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 long. They're so busy thinking about the longs and the longs, they forget the little short notes, soft notes in the middle. And funny enough, the brain seems to be able to translate the right movement to the fingers without us thinking about it at all. And that's what we want with a student. We don't want them to think about playing the scale. We don't want them to think about turning their thumb under their finger or turning their finger over their thumb. We want this to be such a natural thing that it just keeps occurring all by itself, automated. There's the hand position when I'm turning my fourth finger over my thumb in the right hand. And you can see I stopped and left both fingers on the notes, the thumb on the C and the fourth finger on the B flat. That's not how we play. I just want you to get a feel for how far the thumb has to be able to bend under there without us, without causing any hiccup in the playing of the scale. Move through the scale, especially when we get away from the white key scales. Once you start on the white notes, then when you start on the black notes, our fingers, different fingers will end up doing the accents in different hands. Now we're going to try contrary motion scales. This is where the hands go in opposite directions. We put our thumbs on middle C, and the left hand descends on the scale while the right hand ascends, and then they come back together again by reversing the process. This is actually easier to play than parallel motion scales because the fingers are turning under, or the thumb is turning under at the same time and going outwards, and as it's cut, their hands are coming back in, they turn over at the same time. The only difference in the F major scale is that the turn will be at a different point in time because it's a fourth finger turn, not a third finger turn. So if you can get your student to do this, this is just one lesson. It should be about half an hour's work to just run through. If it takes any longer than half hour, you're probably taking too long. Somebody's going to get bored, either you or your child. And the key is not to have either the parent or the child get bored, because we want to make learning fast and easy. So there it is, scale practice. And don't try it yourself. And good luck. If you'd like help with this lesson or any other lesson from Powerhouse Piano, just send me an email, ianhodge@powerhousepiano.com, and I'll get back to you to help you in every way that I can to make sure your teaching experience at home is a success for you and your child. And if you're looking for more teaching materials on Powerhouse Piano, go to our website, powerhousepiano.com, and there you'll find resources that can help you teach your child the piano at home successfully.